hair on my neck stood up. I showed it to Max the next morning. He just nodded. They're close. But they're scared. Scared? Think about it. If they wanted to disappear you, they would've. But they're warning you. That means they know we've got something they can't cover up. He looked me in the eye. It's time to go public. But here's the thing. You don't just drop a story like this onto Twitter and watch the world explode. This wasn't viral ready. It needed verification. Documentation. Context. We needed a journalist. Someone with reach. Credibility. And enough guts to go toe-to-toe with a billion-dollar corporation. Luckily, Max had a contact. An old friend from the Navy who now worked for an investigative outfit that specialized in deep ops. Whistleblowers. Government scandals. Stuff most outlets were too scared or too bought to touch. Her name was Laya. And she was all in. Laya met us in a dimly lit Thai joint in West Loop, back booth, second floor. She came in with a backpack and a voice recorder, ordered nothing, and sat down like she'd done this 100 times. We told her everything. Showed her the files. The surveillance photos. The project liminal documents. She didn't flinch. When we were done, she leaned back, exhaled, and said, "This is big." Too big? She smiled. Big enough to take them down. We worked together for 3 days straight. Laya vetted everything. She had contacts inside the contractor network, ghosts from her days reporting in Syria. She confirmed the affiliations. The aliases. Even the weird psychological models being tested. Max built a secure site to dump the data anonymously. Laya prepped the article with layers of legal defense. I wrote a first-hand account, what I saw, what I felt, what happened the day I walked out. By the end of the week, we were ready. The night before the story dropped, Max took me aside. "You sure about this?" "No," I said honestly. "But I'm done being scared." He smiled. "Good. Because once this goes live, there's no going back." And then, we hit publish. The morning the article dropped, I woke up to chaos. My name was trending on Twitter. My inbox was exploding. My old co-workers were DMing me like crazy. But the best part? The company's website crashed within an hour. They released a vague denial. Baseless claims. Misunderstood research. Standard performance tracking. But the receipts were out there. The files. The quotes. The documents. The photo of me holding that damn burrito under surveillance? Front page of a dozen outlets. They couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. And that's when they made their move. If you've ever heard the phrase, the calm before the storm, let me tell you, that calm? It's a lie. A trap. Because after we went public, there wasn't calm. Not even close. The first 24 hours felt like riding a rocket fueled by adrenaline and Red Bull. We were trending, the story had gone viral, and people were sharing their own horror stories. Former employees, freelancers, even a few executives anonymously chimed in, all confirming one ugly truth. The company had been screwing with everyone. But as fast as the momentum surged, something else started rising beneath the surface. A different kind of energy. Paranoia. Fear. And then, people started vanishing. The first to go dark was a guy named Elliot, a former senior dev who'd emailed me saying he'd been forced to sign an NDA about subliminal conditioning experiments 2 years ago. We were supposed to do a Zoom call that night. He never showed. I followed up. No reply. Checked LinkedIn profile gone. 2 days later, I got an encrypted message from an anonymous burner. They got Elliot. Full sweep. No public trace. Don't meet anyone alone. Ever again. Max went full bunker mode after that. He set up rotating IPs, created burner devices for both of us, and started using a secure mesh network through Laya's contact at The Intercept. Meanwhile, the article kept spreading, now with hashtags like #corporate_experiment and #burrito_whistleblower. Yeah. That name stuck. Even late-night TV got wind of it. One host joked, "Some companies give you dental. This one gives you PTSD." Funny, until it wasn't. Because then, they came for me. It started small. A black SUV parked across the street from James's apartment. Never moved, never blinked. Just sat there, engine idling, like a predator waiting for prey to flinch. Then someone followed me down an alley after I grabbed takeout. I ducked into a hardware store and watched him pass, fake texting, sunglasses at night, earpiece tucked in just enough to catch the light. Classic spook behavior. I called Max. He told me to get underground. Lila set me up with a safe house. Not even kidding. A literal safe house. Some retired investigative reporter's hideout above a pawn shop in a Chicago suburb so small it didn't even have a gas station. She handed me the keys herself, eyes dead serious. "They're not done with you," she said. "They lost control. Now they need you silenced." But here's where it turns. Because they made one mistake. They underestimated the internet. Once the surveillance claims went public, a bunch of data junkies, cybersecurity freaks, and hacktivist types jumped into the fray. Some anonymous Redditor broke down the entire behavioral model and mapped it to leak Slack logs from other companies with suspiciously high turnover. It turns out, Project Liminal had tentacles reaching into 3 other firms across the US and 1 in London. That's when the FBI stepped in. And here's the kicker, not to investigate the company, but to investigate us. Yup. I got a knock on the door at the safe house around 7 a.m. 2 agents. Flashing badges. Friendly but firm. They wanted to ask a few questions. I invited them in. Stupid move. They sat across from me at the kitchen table. One of them, Agent Walters, did all the talking. Calm, practiced voice. Like a human tranquilizer. He asked about the flash drive. Where I found it. Who helped me decrypt it. What I intended to do with it. When I told him we'd already published everything, he smiled like I'd admitted to setting a forest on fire. "You do understand," he said, "that leaking classified information, even inadvertently, is a federal offense." Classified? I blinked. "You're telling me a marketing firm's psychological experiment is classified?" He said nothing. Just tapped his fingers on the table. Then agent number 2 said, "Did you know Project Liminal was a joint task force with the Department of Defense?" I laughed. Then I stopped laughing when I realized they weren't joking. Let me say this loud and clear, they were weaponizing workplace stress. Let that sink in. The US government, or at least someone inside it, had partnered with a private firm to test behavior modification strategies on civilians. No consent. No oversight. No accountability. Why? Because if they could shape employee loyalty, decision-making, and productivity under stress, they could replicate those techniques anywhere, military, government, hell, even schools. My burrito microwave moment? That wasn't a breakdown. That was escape velocity. And they hated it. By now, the story had spiraled beyond our control. Senators were calling for hearings. Whistleblower laws were being thrown around like candy. Max was working with 3 law firms and a cybersecurity nonprofit to launch a class action suit. Lila? She was offered a 7-figure book deal within the week. She turned it down. Said she wasn't done yet. As for me? Well, I became a symbol. People reached out from all over the world. Nurses, truckers, teachers. People who said they'd felt the same invisible hand pressing on them. Manipulating them. Making them question their worth, their sanity. They weren't crazy. They were being played. And somehow, I became the guy who pulled the fire alarm. But here's the twist. 2 nights before the federal hearing, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside, 1 item. A burrito. Same brand. Same exact kind I microwaved the day I quit. Under it? A single sheet of paper with 5 words. You were never the target. I stared at that note for a long time. Because if I wasn't the target, then who was? And why did they want me to find the truth? Let's rewind for a second. You were never the target. 5 words. That's what the note said, the one tucked beneath the burrito, mailed to a safe house only 3 people knew about. I stared at it for hours, those words rattling around my brain like a marble in a jar. I'd been running, hiding, leaking files, watching my life disintegrate piece by piece, and now someone was telling me the whole thing wasn't even about me. So who the hell was the target? I called Max. He didn't answer. Which was weird. He always answered. I texted Lila. Still nothing. That's when the dread set in. I left the safe house for the first time in 2 days and made my way to Max's apartment, heart pounding with every step. When I got there, the place looked normal. Lights off. Door locked. No signs of forced entry. But on the doormat, barely noticeable, was an envelope. My name. Handwritten. Black ink. Sharp, clean strokes. Inside? A thumb drive. I should have been smarter. I should have called someone first. But I didn't. I went to the public library down the street, logged onto a guest terminal, plugged it in. Just one file. For you. I clicked it. And then, my entire world flipped. It was a video. Grainy footage, timestamped from a year ago. It showed a boardroom. Not at my company, but somewhere high level. The kind of place with frosted glass walls and sleek chrome furniture. At the table sat 7 people. Executives. Government suits. One guy even wore a military uniform. They were watching a screen. On that screen? Me. Walking through the office. In the break room. In the elevator. At my desk. They'd been watching me for over a year. But not just me. Every move I made was narrated by someone else, someone sitting at that boardroom table. I recognized the voice. Doug. My old boss. Doug was giving a full presentation. Subject 42, he called me. Not by name. Not even by initials. Just a number. He described my behavior. My reactions. My relationships. He called me the anomaly, the one case where their conditioning model failed. They hadn't picked me at random. I was a control variable. A stress immune. I wasn't just an employee in a toxic environment, I was the test environment. They'd built the entire floor around me. Fake coworkers. Fake conflicts. Even fake clients. My whole job? Wasn't real. The company had been fake. I had been inside a controlled simulation the whole time. Max had been right about the behavior study. But what none of us knew was how far it went. They didn't want to manipulate me. They wanted to observe me. I was the rat in the maze, only I was the one they couldn't break. Every time they turned up the pressure, I adapted. Stayed stable. Rational. Calm. I wasn't a whistleblower. I was the final experiment. And then came the last part of the video. Doug looked straight into the camera. Subject 42 has exited the test chamber. Parameters breached. But the results are illuminating. He smiled. If you're watching this, congratulations. You've proven we were right. The video ended. The screen went black. That night, I finally got a call from Laya. She sounded frantic. Don't say anything, she whispered. I don't have much time. They took Max. My blood froze. What? They got to him. He sent me one final message. Said the whole project was deeper than we thought. He said, she paused, he said you were never the whistleblower. You were the message. The message? Lila's voice was breaking up. They wanted someone to escape. Someone they couldn't control. They needed proof. And they needed someone to show the world what they're capable of. My stomach dropped. They wanted me to leak it. She didn't answer. Then, the line went dead. So here I am. Months later. Back to some version of normal. New city. New name. Off the grid. The story has long since left the headlines. The company restructured. No one was arrested. A few resignations. Some settlements. And silence. Max was never found. Lila vanished after the last article. And me? I still get those envelopes. No return address. Sometimes they just contain a photo of me walking down the street. Other times, it's a quote from the Project Liminal reports. But once, just once, I got a note that chilled me more than any of the rest. It said, Phase 2 begins when you stop running. I don't know what Phase 2 is. I don't want to know. But if you're reading this, if you've ever felt like something wasn't quite right at your job, like someone was pushing buttons you couldn't see, maybe it's not all in your head. Maybe you're part of the maze. Maybe you're subject 43.